Christi is now going to make a Boozy cream ice. And she'll tell you all about it. I'm going to pass out the recipe for you.
So a lot of, like Steve has said before, I think he's kind of touched on it. People called it alcohol infused. I'm a big alcohol fan, not an alcoholic, alcohol fan. And I like working with a lot of alcohol things, especially when it goes into ice creams or ices. I'm more of a fan on the ices part than I am on the ice cream. Great sellers, especially if you do like events and things like that. You know, you've got something extra on the side that you can have and make a couple extra more dollars for. I know that's against what Jeff says, but I'm with Steve on that. Definitely charge a little more if you're going to have anything that has alcohol content in it. You could even take your very favorite drink and turn it into a Italian ice, a Boozy ice. You know, if you like mint juleps, you can make a mint julep Italian ice. If you like margaritas, make a margarita Italian ice. Typically, when you do make Italian ices or a cream ice, you use all natural ingredients, which is, well, I wouldn't say vodka's all natural, but
it comes from potatoes.
Well, yeah. And you want to try to stick with fresh as much as you can. Now, I'm going to sidestep over here real quick. Grab these two things. Sometimes you do need to use a base. And when you work with bases, it's best to kind of use those that need help. Mangoes are kind of bland on their own. Mango is the #1 Italian ice seller. You can do real fresh mangoes or frozen mangoes, let them thaw with a mango base. Margarita, obviously, you know, you could buy the mix. I haven't tried that yet, and throw it in the machine. But they have a margarita base that you can use. Throw in some tequila, throw in some water and sugar, and you are good to go. Other than that, if you can make it with just real ingredients that you can just buy off of the shelf, whether it's blueberries or strawberries or grapes or whichever, always do that if you can. Let's put this back. Any questions? No? Okay. All right, so we are going to do, I think it's 1.5 quarts of water, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to use regular cold tap water. We don't need filtered. We don't need bottled, jugged, fancy.
It actually doesn't say water. It says dairy mix.
Oh, that's right. We're using
Cream ice.
That's right. Italian ice is
You need the
yours.
mix?
No, I got some in here. So I'm going to eyeball it in this. This should be exactly enough. I'm used to making Italian ice, not cream ice.
Now, cream ice in the past was called sherbet, but sherbet usually only came in raspberry, or there wasn't much more than raspberry growing up when I was doing it. But now it's evolved into a cream ice. It's an Italian ice with the addition of some of the dairy blend from the dairy, which gives it a nice smooth taste, but it's still icy and, not icy, but refreshing like an Italian ice.
So I have made an orange Italian ice, and I just used straight orange juice. I had no water, no nothing, just orange juice and sugar. I mean, it's diabetes in a cup, but it's very, very, very good.
That's me.
It's high in sugar content, but it makes the best Italian ice. I used these before. These are, I think Steve called them mini coffins, and I have taken these to the beach. I have made my Italian ice. I have put it in here, a Boozy ice, whichever you want to put in here, and I just put it, close the lid, put it in my cooler with a couple of hard ice packs with the rest of my drinks and food. And about 6 hours later in the Florida heat, it was still beautiful Italian ice to scoop. This would be great if you wanted to sell something for, you know, beach trips, if you're in a very, very touristy, you know, area where they want to take stuff on the lake with them, on the boat, or go to the beach or things like that. Or even just those that want to take ice cream, their favorite ice cream, to their mom and dad that live a couple hours away. This will definitely make the trip. You can get these from Gelato Supply, and then if you use the name Emery Thompson, no spaces, just all one word, you can get a 10% discount as well.
That's gelatosupply.com. They also have the inserts that we're using for gelato. Instead of gelato pans, they have an insert that you can use, and you can use them over and over until they break.
All right, and we're going to add 1.5 quarts of this. So that's going to equal out to 3 quarts. Oh, why not? Okay.
Getting like Jeff.
I know. I had to say Jeff is the Emerald Lagasse of ice cream making, because you know how Emerald is? He's like, a little more. He keeps going. So I already have my 1.5 pounds of sugar measured out. We're going to put it in here. Now, you don't have to put the sugar in here first and then pre-mix it, but there's a reason why it's best if you do. Sugar acts like sandpaper. And when you put it into the machine, just dry, straight, granulated sugar, it's fine. You're not going to ruin your machine. You're not going to ruin your blades. But over time, if you continuously do that, especially for Italian ice makers, you're going to wear the longevity of your blades down a lot faster than if you were to kind of give it a little pre-mix beforehand. So that way, instead of replacing your blades every 5 to 7 years, you would have to replace them probably every 3 to 5 if you just poured the sugar straight in. That's good enough. We'll let the machine do the rest. And then a cup of vodka, right? Ooh, this is very cloudy. All right. Smells good.
We found that if you use too much alcohol, you take a taste of the product and you just go like that. It just overwhelms the flavor.
Christi,
So
what are you going to do with the rest of that?
that's after hours.
Yeah.
That's after they
You
leave
mind
at
your
2 o'clock.
business. So you'll notice how I put a cup. Jeff put an entire bottle. And the reason why is the alcohol proofs are different. So the lower the proof, the more you can put in. It's a liqueur. The Bailey's or the St. Brennan's is a liqueur, whether you're using an orange liqueur or if you're using amaretto. But when you're working with vodkas, that's quite potent and high proof, so you kind of want to stay back a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
So if I wanted to take this recipe and not put alcohol in it, is there something else that I would change the amount of?
Nope, just leave out the vodka.
Okay.
That's it. If you wanted to make it like a kind of on the coconut side, you could throw a can of cream of coconut orange cream ice. That actually sounds pretty good. All right, so my gate's closed, and here we go.
Steve, when did you stop working?
I mean, stop working.
You used to be, making stuff and everything.
These are Christi's formulas, so I let her do it. She does a great job. I work 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week.
That's called marriage.
Oh, never mind.
No, that's a side benefit.
Oh, we're gonna start that.
And Christi, this recipe makes how much?
So it's a water-based product, though it's not. What is my problem today? It has dairy in it, so there's going to be a little bit of expansion. Not as much as you would anticipate with normal ice cream. So you're probably looking around maybe 30% overrun because it's half dairy, half juice. So I put in about 4 quarts, so you're probably going to get about 5.5, maybe 6 quarts back out. It'll be on the little bit fluffier side, and that orange juice in there is going to kind of be like a sherbet. Everybody's had sherbet, right? Okay. Any other questions with working with alcohol, working with juices? No? Okay. So sometimes people ask, can I use just straight juice? Yes, you can, but it depends on your juice. Orange juice, you can use straight from the bottle. You don't need to mix any water with it. I have tried the Simply Lemonade. It's very diluted, and I wouldn't recommend using that. If you go to the refrigerated section at the supermarket where all your juices are, you'll see like pineapple orange or pineapple mango juice by Tropicana. Definitely can just use those straight from the bottle. Don't need to mix any water with it, just juice and sugar and fruit if you want to do that. Some other things like we talked about you want to use bases for.
You still have to use sugar.
Still always have to use sugar. I cut back on the sugar on this because the orange juice has a lot of sugar in it as it is, plus the alcohol content. I don't want it to take 20 minutes to freeze. I don't want it to be soupy when it comes out, and I want it to have a nice scooping temperature or scooping to it whenever I put it into my dipping cabinet. So when you have alcohol-based products in your dipping cabinet, so you have your mango Italian ice and now you've got your very berry wine sorbet in the same cabinet, you're going to notice your wine sorbet is going to start to melt a little bit faster than your mango ice. The reason is because the alcohol content. So it would always be ideal if you could have like another little separate cabinet just for that, or keep it in the coldest part so that way it doesn't start to separate between your other Italian ices.
one question that's always going to come up is, do I need a liquor license to do this? And the answer is no. The reason you don't, just take a look at bakeries. They have Baba Rums, they have rum cake, they have all these different products, and they do not have a liquor license because it's considered an ingredient. Most every state in the union, my own New York state actually has one of the most liberal amounts of alcohol content you can put in. They all have a upper limit of what you can use, and it'll be in wording like you can use 0.25% by volume. Well, if you can figure out what that means, then you make sure that you always use no more than 2.4% by volume, so that if they come and inspect and they say, what's your volume of alcohol, you're not doing it in ounces, you're doing it in per volume of overall product, because the ounces obviously in this machine are going to be less than the ounces in that one. But that's your answer, is no, you don't need a liquor license unless you start making mixed drinks, milkshakes. That could possibly cause a problem, but it's also the volume, as I was saying before. If you put too much alcohol in there, it just catches in your throat. You don't taste the product that you're making, you only taste the alcohol. We once had a guy bring in a bourbon that he made at his still in Kentucky, and it was above 150 proof grain alcohol. I mean, it was so strong that in 10 below freezing, it still scooped like soft ice cream. It was so strong. And it wasn't delicious because the alcohol overwhelmed the product. Just like the bakery, it's an ingredient. It's not the main feature.
Any particular questions? I had one point I was going to make and I forgot it.
Yeah. Or Steve, why do you include that second little thing inside when you're pouring in? What's that little grape looking thing? Lid.
It's a
Second
UL.
lid.
It's a UL requirement.
It's an Underwriters Laboratories necessity. We are Underwriters Laboratories and National Sanitation Foundation are two U.S. testing services, the most stringent in the world. They are not government agencies. But the federal government gets into play that on equipment like this, they want a dust cover to protect the product. So we are meeting the NSF standard up here by having this fall down. Now you can't put your fingers into the machine, and the cover is for dust. And the interesting thing is that in the operation of this machine, we meet both codes because every time you close the outer cover, you're automatically closing the security cover. So that's why we have both. Yes, and we have guards on the machine. All the Italian machines, the Japanese machines, they're all the same design. Their doors look the same, and they have these bars that block the ice cream because their engineers aren't as creative as our engineers are. They're flat up against the machine. They're saying the way to keep your fingers to going in is put bars. Well, the bars slow down the product coming out. They block the way. I wrote an article called the tater tot theorem. You put a bunch of tater tots into the oven, and when they're ready, if you pull out the first four, great. The next four, they're getting more crispy. The third floor, they're getting burned, and the last group, your house is on fire. So we want to get the product out fast. So instead of the traditional guards, we've been doing this forever, where we design guards that project out beyond the machine so the ice cream comes out and falls, does not get in the way of the discharge. We can still discharge very quickly, but you can't get your fingers up there. So we solve the problem of safety and the desire to keep that product consistent from front to back by getting it out quickly. When I do the pints, the way I can get away with it is, and that was Christi's idea. She came along and said, why don't we just slow down the drive? And we're all going, duh, why didn't we think of that? If you slow down the drive, you're not putting any more air in the product. And you also want to be able to fill it, close it, put it up here, fill it, close it, put it up here. So we get both jobs done. We keep the product consistent throughout the batch when we're filling pints, and we're not adding more air.
So you know how has everybody had Italian ice before?
Yeah.
Yes. So have you ever had an Italian ice that was so creamy and so good, and you've had some that were kind of on the granulated side, watery? There's a reason. So it's the secret. More sugar. So the more sugar you add, the softer and creamier it's going to be, kind of like a Philly ice. So this has a lot of sugar because of the orange juice. So typically the rule of thumb is with the CB350, 4 quarts of liquid with 2 pounds of sugar. But I cut back a half a pound because of the orange juice and then the vodka. So it'll still be nice and creamy. There we go. That sounds better. Might be getting a little... Oop, still soupy. So when you want to make a creamier product, if you have your 2 pounds of sugar, you can add another half a pound. Always do it by half a pound increments. Now there are some flavors like this one where you need to cut back your sugar. There are some where you'll just need to up it regardless. Strawberry Italian ice, if you're working with strawberries are very high in sugar naturally. So you can stick with your 2 pounds so it'll scoop and be nice and creamy on its own. If you're working with, mango, you'll need to up your sugar because of the base, and then plus your mangoes don't have naturally as much sugar as strawberries. So you'll learn the difference. Pineapples, they're pretty high in acid and they're pretty sweet. I've normally stuck with the 2 pounds of sugar whenever I work with pineapples because I've done a Malibu coconut where I've done crushed pineapple and dairy mix and some cream of coconut and vodka. Always gotta have the vodka in there. So, high sugar content, so you can kind of keep your 2 pounds of sugar. Any other questions?
Did you mention about adding an extract to a bland flavor?
Yeah, we talked about the
Okay.
bases, yeah.
Yep.
That's a lot of points. You guys are too quiet.
It's all the booze we put in them.
I know. Well, they're burning now from the alcohol, then the coffee. Oh, looks so good.
I love setting people up. I'm going to do an Italian ice after lunch. And I love setting people up into the Italian ice business because your 2 main ingredients, your biggest, highest cost factor, is tap water and sugar from the supermarket. And then the third ingredient is flavor. I mean, it doesn't get any cheaper. On a hot day, ice cream is going to make you thirsty because of the fat content in it. It can even, if the fat gets too high, it even makes you sweat. That's why we mentioned earlier on this morning, when we buy from Dairy Mix, they have higher fat contents, but we order 10%, which is the federal minimum, because we're in Florida. And at noon, when it's 90 degrees out and 100% humidity, and you're eating Haagen-Dazs, you're going to just sweat or drop dead in the parking lot, and that's not good for business. So we use a lower fat content product to make it more refreshing. Well, the Italian ices are the most refreshing at all. They're like having a Gatorade dumped over your head, at a football game. Sugar, water, and flavor. The sugar goes right into your system. The water is hydrating you. I mean, it's besides beer, it's the most perfect food. And it's so inexpensive to make. It takes less equipment. You just need a batch freezer, a sink, and a freezer. And you're in business. With ice cream, we need to store the dairy mix when it comes in. We probably need a hardening cabinet. We need dipping cabinets. So I like to start people off in ices in season, and then in the fall start graduating them into something very similar to ices, which is going to attract the 40 and under age, and that's the dairy-free vegan, which is made from a powder, and it's either a coconut base or an oat base. These are the two that I've found that are the best two to use for dairy-free. And that works great. And then in the wintertime, you can start adding ice cream. So we're going to be with you the whole process. We give lifetime technical support, even if you don't buy a machine. If you just call up today and say, hi, you now have free lifetime technical support with us. You can talk to us about any question that you have. Okay.
So
Yes.
if I wanted to do ice cream and Italian ice, so like storing, because I currently do ice cream, but I get it from a distributor. So I have dipping cabinets already. So if I wanted to do Italian ice and ice cream, would I need a separate freezer because of the temperature it needs to be?
Yes. The question was, do I need a separate dipping cabinet for the Italian ice? I tell people that if you go into an ice cream parlor and you see ice cream in the same cabinet with Italian ice, run like hell, because that means both products are loaded with chemicals. Sugar, water, and flavor should be stored at 16 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice cream we scoop at about 6 degrees Fahrenheit. So the two are not going to go well together. You can put dairy-free vegan in with ice cream or ices, and they will work. But you need a separate cabinet. I don't know where my Inkbird is. Do you?
Should be in here.
Okay, we're going to see if we can find something to show you a way to save you money. Good. Thank you. You can put that back up. Normally, you have to go out and buy two separate cabinets. One, and they're about they start about $2,000 and go up. Jeff has been famous for using freezer chests, which I don't agree with completely, but they do have some merit. But if you're trying to get into business and you have no money, and you're looking at a $3,000 dipping cabinet versus a $900 chest freezer, this is your solution. I can't sell this because it doesn't have NSF and UL approval, but it's a great device. It's called Inkbird. Two unrelated words. Ink, like in a pen, and bird, like the thing that flies. So Inkbird, this is at Amazon. It's $32. They have different variations of it that cost more. You don't need, it's the one case where you don't need to spend $40. You'll just be buying more complicated. And the principle is just so simple. If you've ever put up Christmas lights at Christmas time on your front porch, you put up the lights around the front entry, and then you plug the lights into a timer, and the timer goes into the wall. And the timer turns on the lights at dusk and turns them off whenever you set it, 2 in the morning. Still good on time?
Yeah, I was just tasting it.
Okay.
I swear I'm not an alcoholic.
So you're setting the time that the lights go on and off. What this is doing, instead of you buying a 16-degree dipping cabinet and a 6-degree dipping cabinet, this is just taking a chest freezer that naturally goes to 10 below zero. By plugging your Christmas lights into here, the dipping cabinet, and then plugging this into the wall, it's got a little bulb thermostat. We drop that into the cabinet. We set this for ices. We set it, it doesn't say ices, it says I punch it to 16 degrees. Now, the cabinet's at 80 degrees, room temperature. This device is plugged in and running. The box is going to cool down, heading for 10 below. When it hits 16, it shuts off the electricity. That's all it does. Turns off the electricity. I can't go any colder, there's no electricity. And then when it warms up to 17, it turns the electricity back on. So for $32, you've got a perfect dipping cabinet for either ice cream or ices. It's really ingenious. You just saved a lot of money, so you can put it towards your second Emery Thompson batch freezer, because now you're working on your third $1 million. So it's not made in the United States. I don't even recognize the certifications on this, but quite frankly, your Christmas lights aren't made in the United States either. Lots of things aren't.
Called Inkbird?
Inkbird, 2 words. Inkbird, you can get it at Amazon. Don't buy the one that's $40 because it's for beer, and it's got all sorts of different controls. This is so simple, even I can run it. And that's a hallmark of my machines. They're so simple because I want to be able to run it too. So that's what you can do, and that gets you into the ices business instantly.
Now, how long does Italian ice last?
Italian ice will last the way I make it, using sugar, water, and fresh orange juice like Christi just did. At 16 degrees, it'll last for 3 or 4 days. Then the flavor starts to bleed to the bottom of the can. You have a choice of either using chemicals, which will hold it in suspension, and it'll last for a week or 2. But I would rather you be dependent on the weather. You wake up at 6 in the morning, you get your coffee, and you turn on the Weather Channel. Oh, it's going to be beautiful for the next 3 days. Great. I'm going to take a lot of lemon ice out of my freezer cabinet and put it into my serving cabinet because I know I'm going to go through it. Oh no, there's a hurricane coming. Well, I'm not going to sell any ice at all. So I'm going to leave it in the colder freezer. At the colder freezer, it'll stay rock solid, and I could keep it for months. But if you call up and say, I've had bubblegum licorice Italian ice in my freezer cabinet for 4 months now, is it any good? My answer is going to be yes. Bubblegum licorice ice cream at 10 below is as good as the day you made it. But it's been sitting in there for 4 months. It's a lousy flavor. Get rid of it. Don't
Ready.
start making stuff just because you like it.
Okay, so we're gonna turn off the refrigeration. I like to wait until you hear that kick off, kind of like a Jeff thing. And here we go.
Now look how fast that comes out. That's beautiful.
I think this is going to be you guys' favorite. So you noticed how when we made ice cream in this, it filled up 2 of these, but because half of this was orange juice, you're not getting as much as your yield back out, which is very normal.
Don't forget this has alcohol in it, so if you don't want alcohol at 11:15 in the morning
You're in Florida.
and on vacation.
Yeah, the beach, that's how I see it, you know. Oh, so close. All right. But you feel like you're staring.
If you're in New York, you're going to eat this product with this, a squeeze cup, otherwise known as a pleated water cup. A lady's dress pleated. It's a pleated water cup. It's a water cup. You put the ice in here, and then you squeeze up from the bottom and eat it, and you don't need a spoon. It doesn't cost you anything, and everybody, children of all ages, love to eat it that way. That's how we do it. But if you're in California, you're going to have to do a cup and a spoon because they don't know what a squeeze cup is. But these, I mean, you can buy like 1,000 of them for $20. They're so cheap. Pleated water cup made by Solo. And that's it. Just put the ice in. It's a 3.5 ounce cup, so if you crown it over, it's exactly 4 ounces. And we're going to get anywhere from $2 to $3.25 for that. And it costs us 4 ounces. That costs us 9 cents to make. What a profit margin. It's unbelievable. So just put it in and squeeze it up and eat it.
Jeff, did you want one?
Sure.
Oh.
All right, who spilled cherry on the floor?
Me.
Jeff.
It's getting sticky.
Oop.
Got to feed the production team first. That's important.
I gotta feed the cable crew first.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Christy, this is the best thing you ever made.
I think her daughter would argue with that.
So, how's that one?
Well, Jeff said it's the best you've ever made, so I guess it's good. Jeff eats my product, goes, eh.
Refreshing.
It's very
That's
good.
the idea,
Really good.
is refreshing.
Would you add
Imagine-
anything to it? Oh, sorry.
No. Imagine being on a beach selling this. Oh, the price you could get for it.
It would be perfect enough. Mm. And I've done it before, so I know for a fact it works. Packing them in here and taking it to the beach with you, it'll hold amazingly.